Hi everybody and welcome to this week's webinar by Annika Digital. My name is Gurpreet and I'll be hosting today. A big thank you to Rachel for hosting this morning. If you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm sorry, my dog's just started barking as the introduction's happening. I'm Rachel, I'm a strategist at Annika. I specialise in social, so been working in social for years, like 10 or so years now. And I love TikTok. So today we're going to be talking about TikTok for business and whether your business should be on there.
Brilliant. Right, I'm going to disappear, but I'll be in the chat to monitor that. And if they've got any questions, pop them through and we'll ask Rachel at the end. Brilliant.
Cool, thank you. Okay, everybody, I'm just going to turn my camera off because we're using the on-screen view. It will just make it bigger for you. Okay, so the question that we're going to be answering today is, should my business be on TikTok? So the things that we're going to go through, we're going to look at target audience to begin with, business objectives, content strategy, return of investment, and then at the end we've got our usual agency information. So I've just popped that in the appendices. Appendixes? I can't say that word. So we're going to start. I'm going to set the tone of this presentation with this meme. And I felt like this is relevant because I feel like people don't understand the effort that is required to maintain a TikTok channel and to create a really good TikTok channel as well. So I presume that you guys have seen this meme before. CEO saying, why aren't we on TikTok? And then the one person marketing team like, whoa, why are you shouting at me? It's hard work, okay, to manage TikTok. And we're going to go through the considerations of what you need to think about before you actually go into this platform. Okay, so up first, we're going to look at the target audience. Who is using TikTok? I'm not sure if any of you guys in the webinar today. So I did a talk at Annika's event called LDL in October time last year, I think it was. And it was all about TikTok Shop and the evolution of TikTok. And a lot of people still have the perception that it's an app for kids dancing. And it's really not anymore. The platform is very, very different, and it's largely an e-commerce platform nowadays. So it's hoping to compete with the likes of Amazon, WeChat, those big ones. So the reason that people have this association that it's children dancing is because it was originally an app called Musical.ly. And Musical.ly was for like teenagers, and it was a dancing app. So ByteDance, who own TikTok, bought Musical.ly in 2016, I think it was, and then changed the platform a lot since then. So originally, the first type of content that you would see on the platform was like teenagers dancing. But yeah, as I say, it's changed a lot since then. And this association doesn't really do it justice anymore. So this is so at the beginning of this presentation, we've got a few stats, and they're largely from this website called Statistica, who are like a statistics provider. So this is a graph to show what ages are using TikTok. So as you can see on the left, we've got around 18% of the users are aged between 18 to 24. And then next to that on the right, so between 25 to 34, these are still quite large amounts if you compare them to 18 to 24. So you've got 15% of, I think it's males, the blue one. I think I might have chopped that out of the screenshot, sorry. And 17% of female. So still quite large stats. There's still a big audience aged between 25 to 34. I use TikTok. All of my friends use TikTok. Some people think they're better than us and look at TikToks on Reels. But everybody does watch TikTok content, whether they've downloaded the app yet or not. Especially millennials and people in between the ages of 18 to 24. But it doesn't stop there. People aged 35 and above still do watch TikTok and use TikTok, but they are it's just not as many people as between the ages of 18 and 34. So if you look to the right, so let's go to 34 to 44, you're still looking at nearly 10% of the users are aged between 35 to 44. And when you think of the reach and the scale of the amount of people that use TikTok, that's a lot of people. So don't write it off and think that it's just for the younger generation, because it's really not. You'll see that as well. Like when you're a TikTok user and you look at the people who make content and the people that are in the comments, like there are a whole range of ages. It's not just young people. So yeah, broaden your mind a little bit about TikTok if you're currently thinking it's for the younger people, because the stats are showing it's not. Hopefully this graph is big enough for you guys. So this is to show how popular TikTok is compared to other platforms. So at the top we have Facebook, YouTube, WhatsApp, Instagram, and then TikTok. So TikTok is above Twitter, it's above Pinterest. There's some other ones in there, Snapchat, and some of the ones like WeChat that we don't really use in the UK too much. But I think that's important to note, because if you are currently using Pinterest for your business or Twitter for your business, and you're putting a lot of time and effort into those platforms, are they the right platforms for you? Could you be having a better time on TikTok? Potentially. If there's more people using it and more people within your age range, then actually that should be a platform that you should consider. And how much time do people spend on TikTok? So this stat says individual users spend 23.3 hours on TikTok per month, which is almost an entire day. So nearly 24 hours a month on TikTok. And this is up from 19.6 hours in 2021. So that stat has increased. So it's just showing that people aren't getting bored of the platform. They're just using it more than they were previously. I know that TikTok, for me, has more of a grasp on me than any other social media channels, because it's entertaining and you get stuck in this loop. So I looked recently at like this. I looked recently. I think it was a TikTok video about why TikTok's so addictive compared to Instagram. And it was saying that because Instagram has like the breaks between the content. So you've got the image that you're looking at, and then you have a gap below it. So like where the caption would be, and then you'd go into another image. Because TikTok doesn't have that and it's so streamlined, that's part of the addictiveness, because you don't have like a forced end upon you. You can just scroll endlessly. So it's a very addictive platform. And I guess that's why people spend a lot more time on this platform. I bet if we looked at the stats for Instagram or Facebook, there wouldn't be anything like what we're seeing for TikTok here. So when people are on the app, it's really hard to get them to leave. And I think this is important as well, to think about when you're looking at the customer journey and e-commerce. So we do go into TikTok Shop a bit later. But one of the things all the platforms encourage you to not do is leave the app. They don't want you to leave the app, okay? They want you to stay on the app as long as possible so you can be advertised to. With TikTok, they use in-app purchases through TikTok Shop. So even if you are going to buy something through an ad that you've seen, you're still within the app. So you're not leaving this environment. So yeah, it's got a strong hold over people, TikTok does. One of the first things that you need to do if you're considering, is TikTok right for my business, is have a look to see if your competitors are on TikTok. And the easiest way to do this is have a look to see. So download TikTok, use it as yourself, or use it as your customer to get like an idea about how the platform works, what type of content is on there, how people behave and what features there are. And just have a look to see. So think about your immediate competitors. So those around you who your customers are likely to buy from if it's not from you. And then if they are on there, obviously have a look to see what engagement they get on their content. Is it good content? Do they have a community there? Have they got lots of people responding to the comments, buying their products, etc.? And it's also worth having a look to see if there's any bigger brands in the same industry as you doing well on TikTok, because you might find, okay, my competitors are on there, but their stats are rubbish, their content's rubbish. That might just be because they're rubbish at creating content. It might not be because the audience isn't there or the audience isn't engaged. So that's why it's important to have a look at some of the bigger brands who obviously have bigger marketing budgets, more time, more resource, to see if they're doing well on the platform. And if they are, then there's a good chance that you will be able to as well. Once you've sort of thought about that, maybe do a bit of a SWOT analysis to really consider whether this is right for you. So I've put in the next slide, I've put a like an example of things that you need to consider. So we'll go into that in a second. And then lastly, weigh up the opportunity. So if it looks good to you and you think, yeah, there's more strengths and opportunities here than weaknesses and threats. Maybe I should try it. So let's have a look at the SWOT analysis. So this is just an example. I haven't based this on anyone or anything. And I just thought about what are the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of starting a TikTok channel. So these are some of the things that you might want to consider. So some of the strengths to look at when you're looking at your competitors: have they got really good engagement rates? So have they got lots of engagements compared to the views, or do they have very low views, very low engagements? It's worth having a look at that. Consider if they're using a brand personality. So this is something that we will talk about in this presentation. So do they have a face of the brand? Is that a really strong USP of their business and their content? Because you quite often see that the most successful TikTok channels are the ones where they have a face of the brand. Do they have a really good use of influencers in this industry? And influencers, it's not typical. They don't have to be typical influencers who promote makeup or, like pretty young girls. Like, influencers really can be anybody in the industry. So I'm on this side of TikTok where it's like tech TikTok, girly tech TikTok, and this girl collects keyboards and she shows you all these different types of keyboards that you can use if you do like a work from home job. So this girl's into like coding, and that's just an example of a really, really strange niche that you could be an influencer in the industry. So do expand your mind when you think about influencers there. Some of the weaknesses that you could look at. So do they have very limited content diversity? Is it the same thing again and again? And it's a bit boring, actually. Do they post inconsistently? Is this because they don't have much to talk about? Or is this because, I don't know, maybe they're a one-man band who can't manage everything? Are you seeing that they have poor user interactions? Or they could even just have really poor content creation skills. Some people just aren't cut out for content creation, and that's okay. It's not everybody's skill. And TikTok is a very creative platform. It does take a lot of editing behind some of the videos. And obviously you need somebody to be in front of the camera a lot of the time as well. And some businesses just don't have that type of personality in their team. Some of the opportunities you could look at. So is there potentially a new audience on TikTok that you didn't realize there was? So TikTok Shop is a really good example of this. So I think people obviously have the mindset of TikTok's just young people, like young girls dancing. The stuff on TikTok Shop suggests that there's more people than just young girls dancing on this app. Like, you can buy anything on TikTok Shop. So there's clearly audiences there for people to purchase. You could also think about your current customers, and is this a really good opportunity to engage them in a different type of advertising? Have you bored them to death on Meta? Have you just, I don't know, rinsed your budgets elsewhere and think, oh, maybe I should try TikTok? They probably need to see some advertising on other channels. Then TikTok could be a good option to look at. It's also a really good option for people who want to generate a community and build a community on the platform because of the two-way feedback tool. So like on Instagram, where people can leave comments and feedback, the same thing can happen on Twitter. But for some reason, I feel like not Twitter, TikTok. I feel like there's more of a community that's fostered within TikTok. And I do think that's largely based on how strong the algorithm is and how similar the content is that you see compared to what you see on Facebook or Instagram. So it's a really good feedback tool if you want to generate that community or even actually have feedback on your products or your business. And I will show you a really good example of a brand that currently does that on TikTok. And lastly, it's really good opportunity to be transparent about your business. So if for most of your marketing time you show the product, you might show your customers, you might show how the product solves an issue, but people might not know about the behind the scenes of the brand. And actually, that's really interesting. Like, that's one of my favorite parts of seeing content from like my favorite brands, is seeing the staff make the TikToks, or maybe I'll see their updates on LinkedIn. Like, I really like to see like what's going on behind the scenes. So TikTok's a really great tool for that. Some of the threats that you might want to consider, there might be negative engagements. Obviously, it is a two-way communication tool, so people can say whatever they like. If they think your product is rubbish, they might be mean and say that. And that's something that you have to deal with. But you could switch that into an opportunity and say, like, thank you for the feedback. We will look to improve this, or we will look to resolve this situation. So it's something for you to work with. There are a lot of rapid changes in the platform, so you could not use it for a couple of weeks and go back on the app and think, oh God, why is the content I'm seeing really different to when I was last on here? So they make a lot of changes to the actual interface of the app. They make a lot of changes to the algorithm and how people see content and the popularity of content. There's obviously also trends that change super quick. So if you are 2 weeks late to a trend, it's old and people are interested, and it's just a bit embarrassing. So you really need to be using this platform daily to be on top of trends, really. And also something to consider, is this market already saturated? Is it something you feel like you can tap into, or do you not think that you can compete with the bigger competitors in your space? So these are all things that you need to be mindful of. And when you're at the very beginning of looking at whether your competitors are on here, these are the things that you need to look out for and think about your business when you're doing so. Okay, so next we're going to look at business objectives. So we're going to look at your own business objectives and then how we can achieve those goals through TikTok. So what objectives can be fulfilled by TikTok? So there's 3 key ones here: brand awareness, community building, and sales. So I'm presuming that most businesses will want to achieve one of these. If not, I feel like the business objectives are slightly questionable. So let's start with brand awareness. So obviously it's a really huge audience on TikTok. It's the 6th biggest social media platform out of the list that we looked at previously. So you can get really big reach on this platform and increase your brand awareness to a new audience or an existing audience. It's a great platform for building community because the algorithm is so strong and so interest-based that can foster the community spirit on there. So that's another thing. I guess it kind of ties into brand awareness, but building community on there. And then lastly, sales. You have TikTok Shop, which is a really good, easy way for people to purchase. You can obviously encourage sales outside of the platform, but TikTok Shop is probably the best way to utilize sales to that audience. So these are three really broad objectives here that would apply to most businesses. Sorry, I didn't realize I could close the chat, so I keep getting distracted by the chat. I've just closed that, so I don't get distracted. Sorry. Next up, we're going to look at content strategy and how your content can align and achieve these objectives. So some of the case studies that we're going to look at. The first one is P. Louise. So P. Louise is Paige Louise is a makeup artist, and through TikTok, she has created a huge, massive makeup brand. So she obviously is a makeup artist. She brought out a range of products. She launched this all on TikTok Shop. So the gravity of this business has all been due to TikTok Shop. I think she might have launched in 2020 or 2021. So she was a really early adopter of TikTok. And when TikTok Shop came out, she was one of the first brands to really go hard on that. And she's got a really big business now. I think their offices are in like Stockport, Manchester way. Southport. Stockport is the one in Manchester, isn't it? So she has a Gen Z audience, so perfect for TikTok. Like, we know that this audience is on TikTok. They're low-cost makeup products, which means they're really affordable to that generation. And also, low-cost products sell best on TikTok Shop. So they do really well on TikTok Shop. She was an early adopter of TikTok Shop, so this helps with her sales skyrocketing. At the beginning, I feel like you have really good chances of things going well when you adopt them early on social media platforms, because they'll always push those features on the platforms. I don't know if anybody remembers when Reels first came out. Reels used to get obviously Reels do get big reach now, but they used to have really massive reach at the beginning because the platform pushes them and encourages you to use them. P. Louise has 2 different accounts. Okay, so this account in the phone in this example is a screenshot of her Makeup Academy. So this is where you can buy the products. It's tutorials on the makeup, that sort of thing. She also has another account, which is her, and it shows the behind the scenes of the business. So it's very different content to what we see on this the Makeup Academy one here. On her personal one, she obviously talks about her business. She talks about new product launches. We get to see a lot about the inner workings of the business, but it's also on that one that she faces a lot of backlash, and she deals with two-way communication. So she had a problem recently because she was sending out products to people and the packaging was so rubbish or something. I can't remember what had happened, but it left a lot of customers disappointed. She fully addressed this on her personal TikTok account. So she is the person responsible for managing this sort of two-way communication. It provides transparency, and I guess it touches on that community building, because she's showing that she really cares about her community. She's heard that her products or her packaging was rubbish. She has addressed this and she's fixing it. So she's ticking all the boxes here with these two accounts that she runs. I would also say that it is very community centered. So she relies on a lot of feedback from her customers when it comes to improving products, adding in colors, adding in types of products, that sort of thing. So she really does rely on this community that she's built over the last few years. So I've made these broad because I didn't want, there's so many different really good examples of businesses on here that I didn't want you to think, oh God, well, my business isn't represented. So this case study is from an account called The Legal Queen. I love this woman. She is a solicitor and she specializes in family law. So this person is like a thought leader in family law on TikTok. So she generates business through sharing her knowledge of the industry, and again she fosters that community focus and community spirit, because a lot of her audience, or people that just come across her content from searching for family law related issues, find her, ask her questions, and all of her content is essentially just her answering all these snippets of questions, which is really useful for everyday people who don't have a clue about law and might find themselves in a predicament. So if you come across her and you think, oh, she actually really does know her stuff and I've learned a lot from her and I quite like her as a person and I need a family law solicitor, maybe I'll get in touch. So this is how she generates her business. She used to do like family law like information bundles that she would sell on TikTok Shop as like just generic like not legal advice, but just generally law advice. Okay, so she stopped selling those on TikTok Shop, and I think it's probably because I don't know, giving legal advice on TikTok like that and selling it probably isn't very ethical. So now you can still buy those, but she just directs you to her website. But again, this is not a very glamorous industry. Family law is pretty horrific, isn't it? She is not selling anything on TikTok Shop, yet this is a really good example of how she generates her business through TikTok. She is the face of her business, so it is just her answering questions based on the community asking. Next up, we have Scribdaddy, which is a sponge. How boring. How can a sponge have 4 million followers? So I find this is a bit of a standout account, okay? I wouldn't necessarily say that everybody would want to do their marketing like this. It's just a way that you could market. So it's a faceless account. A lot of people don't want to show their faces on TikTok. So you'll see Ryanair doesn't have any of their staff like in their TikToks. They use like the filter, like the eyes and mouth filter on the planes to like personify the planes. Scribdaddy is another example of a faceless account, so they don't show any of their staff in their content. They are very rude in their content, and they use a lot of dark humor, which I think personally, I think their focus is brand building and gaining a big followership on TikTok, because I wouldn't necessarily relate with the content that they're sharing, and I have a Scribdaddy, so I am actually one of their customers. I think the purpose for this is brand building. Obviously, it's the sponge actually has a face on, so they do personify the sponge in their content. But the biggest factor about their content, and the reason that they have such a big reach and so many followers, is due to how rude they are and how humorous they are. They are really quick to jump on trends. They use loads of different sounds. Some of their content is just crazy. But I guess this is the option they're going for. And if your product isn't, I don't know, if you don't really have a brand personality yet, you could use this to your advantage if that's a route that you want to go down. But I understand it's not appropriate for everybody. They also don't sell on TikTok Shop, which surprised me, because Scrub Daddies are really cheap products that would probably do really well on TikTok Shop. And I'm not entirely sure why they do that. You can buy Scrub Daddies on TikTok Shop, but from other retailers. So I'm not sure why they haven't gone down that route personally. Maybe they can't accommodate for TikTok Shop in their business. This is the place that I would start when you're looking at what type of content that you're going to create for your TikTok account. So go to the Creative Center. This is only available on desktop, so follow this link. I can pop this in the chat afterwards if that's easier for you guys. But this is an amazing tool that I feel like a lot of people don't know about. So it gives you trending sounds, and it's not just, oh, these are the most popular. You can filter it so it's like emerging. So like so many people have used this in the last 24 hours. Those are sounds that you want to be using, because if that sound goes viral, your video is going to be one of the first that have used this sound. So you're going to have that virality, I can't say the word, as well. You can look at search trends. So what are people searching for on TikTok? That's how I haven't made any TikToks in a long time, but that's what I would look at to see what people are talking about. And again, it's not just the most popular, it shows the emerging trends. So some people in the summer might be talking about certain holiday destinations, or they might be talking about, I don't know, waterfalls or something. If you see that's trending, you might want to do a video on that. I'm using these specific examples because that's the type of stuff that I post on my TikTok. But you can filter it by lots of different industries as well. So I obviously look at the travel ones, but you can look at all different types of industries on there when you filter by this. You can look at the top products sold in TikTok Shop. And if you're seeing that a product very similar to yours is trending on TikTok Shop, or is an emerging trend on TikTok Shop, then that's obviously a suggestion for you to launch on TikTok Shop. And also you can look at top and emerging hashtags. So it literally gives you all of this information for free, which is really helpful. And it saves a lot of like the guesswork or the time, like scrolling through content, trying to figure out what's trending and what's not. So that is if you take anything out of this, it is this piece of information right now. Next up, you're going to have to look at a content strategy. So what type of thing do you want to post about? I've put some suggestions in here. So in Annika, we call these content pillars. So these are you'd have like 3 to 5 things that you talk about regularly. So all of your content will be around these topics. So on other channels like Meta, you might want to talk about, I don't know, behind the scenes of your business. You might want to talk about industry related news. You might want to talk about, you might want to have one of the pillars as selling your products. You might have another one for, I don't know, resources, or I don't know, that sort of thing. It really varies with your business. On TikTok, it is a bit different. So you have to think a bit broader than just creating content based on content pillars. Because of the ever-changing sounds and because of the ever-changing trends, you need to just go with the flow on this platform a bit, okay? So when I'm saying content strategy, I basically think that you should align with these 3 things. So you want to be authentic. That's one of the key things on TikTok, is authenticity. People like to see the owners of brands, and they're used to seeing that now as well. Like, that's what they expect. They don't really expect a faceless account, especially from a small business. When you have a person in your TikToks, they always perform better, whether that's somebody talking to the camera, whether that's a voiceover and you're just in the video clips that you've used. That content always performs better, and that's because people like to watch other humans and relate to other humans. Another thing is around community and audience focused content. So just make sure that your content engages your audience. If you look at this content and you think, oh, would I watch this? Would I stick around for 60 seconds or 30 seconds to watch this? If you wouldn't, neither would your viewers. So really be your biggest critic when it comes to creating content. You need to think, okay, yeah, this is actually hilarious, or this is really educational, or this is really vulnerable. I think my audience would like this. They're the types of things that you need to think about to evoke some sort of emotion in your audience. If you get a bit stuck and you're not sure about what content to create, you can use your comments to create content. So let's say somebody's commented on your video and you think, oh, I can expand on this and talk about it a bit more to the camera. You can stitch their comment. So that means basically the comment appears in the video and you're just responding to it. But that's a really good way of engaging with your community, and it kind of gets the ball rolling. Like the more you start to do that, the more people start to engage like that. And obviously you're engaging with your community there. Also, try to include the audience in any brand decisions if possible. Obviously, this isn't appropriate for anybody, but P. Louise is a really good example of this, where she would work with her fan base to decide what colours would be her next makeup palette, or what type of product they were going to create next. And then lastly, sales. Obviously, a big point of coming onto social media to do marketing is to generate sales. So get your TikTok shop set up and tag products in the relevant videos. Don't tag them in every video. Just make sure that if you're talking about the product, it's tagged in there. But please do make sure that these are entertaining or educational or engaging. Because as a user, you see a lot of TikTok shop videos now, and it's a bit boring being sold to. So if you are going to tag your products in a video and you are going to try and sell them, you need to think outside the box a bit, because now as soon as somebody sees that there's a product in the video, they'll probably just skip. So you do need to be very mindful and conscious of the types of videos that you tag products in. You'll also see that the reach is different when you tag a video versus when you don't. So if you tag a video, if you tag a product in your video, you will see a certain type of audience that is interested in buying your product. So they have quite a high intent when you tag a product in your video, but you won't reach as many people. Whereas if you don't tag a video, you will reach a lot more people. So you need to think about the pros and cons of whether you want to tag a product or not. One of the big questions that people want to know is, how do I go viral on TikTok? And there's no magic rule, and there's seemingly no logic to this either. So my recommendations are to be experimental and try loads of different things. Have a look at the analytics in the platform and see if that worked, why did that work, and let's do more of it. Take notes of the type of content that do generate reach, that do generate engagement. If you've seen a massive following on the back of a video, what type of video was that and how did that happen? And also, if you've seen a lot of sales, what type of video was that? So just keep a track of this sort of content and understand what type of content you need to do to achieve this goal. So I would also say, don't be disheartened if you do loads of videos and you're doing everything right and you're not getting as many views as you're expecting. This does happen, and TikTok is really sporadic when you go viral or not. So you could have like 200, 700 views for a while, and then you might find yourself with like 300,000 views on one of your videos and you can't work out the logic. Don't stop posting, just keep posting, keep trying, keep building that audience. Keep being vulnerable, keep sharing everything you possibly can about your business, and people will find it interesting, and that will grow over time. You just need to be consistent with it and keep trying. Some of the suggestions that you could try to see what content works or not. So you could try doing voiceovers versus speaking to the camera. So I'm a big fan of voiceovers. I always watch videos with voiceovers in them. I find them really engaging. So yeah, you could try that style of video. You could try short videos versus 1 minute plus videos. You could try tagging products versus not tagging products. You could try using hashtags in your caption or not using any hashtags in your caption. That will affect the reach. Something that people are doing now is putting a lot of keywords into their captions and really long captions. I do think that this might limit the reach and only show to people with a higher intent of those interests. Whereas if you don't put a caption, TikTok will just put the content out there and we'll see if people like it or not, to anybody, because they don't have anything to learn from. So try all these sorts of things, because the outcomes will be very different. You could try you could try posting really good quality videos versus quantity and just uploading anything, because quite often that seems to be the case on TikTok. Just post a lot of stuff and some of it will work, some of it won't. You could also try going live and seeing how that affects your results, your brand awareness, your following. Because a lot of TikTokers nowadays just go live and they don't really post videos that often anymore. But because of the stats that they see from going live, they have really, really big reach. So you could try doing that yourself. Okay, so we have previously spoke about the goals that you can achieve through TikTok. And now we're going to look at return of investment. And is this worth it for me? What do I need to consider? So consider what your business goals are, and do any of TikTok's benefits align with what you want to achieve? So let's think about what we said at the beginning. So TikTok's great for brand awareness, it's great for community building, and it's great for sales. If you want to achieve any of these, then we're on the right lines here. You want to dig down deeper into these. So what results are meaningful to you in each of these objectives? So if you want to achieve brand awareness, these are the types of metrics that you need to be looking at in your content to determine whether you're achieving this goal or not. So some of these do cross over. In this sort of list, we have video views, video reach, traffic sources. So where are people coming from? Are they seeing your videos because they follow you, or are they seeing you through their homepage? Are they seeing you because they searched for a term? How much of the video is completed? So how much did they watch? The country distribution. So what countries are these people watching from? I've put traffic sources in there twice. Profile views, so how many profiles, how many people are looking at your profile, and the frequency. So are they watching a lot of your videos? Are they just watching a handful of your videos? That is it for brand awareness. In community building, there's some similar ones here. So you might want to look at how many followers you have got, or how your follower growth. We could look at likes, shares, engagement rates, average watch time, the comments, reposts, and again, the traffic sources. So these two are more aligned. I guess they are quite similar objectives. And then lastly, sales. So you want to look at the number of sales, you want to look at the revenue, you want to look at the return on ad spend. So we call this ROAS in advertising. So for every £1 you spend, how much are you making back? An industry standard is 4-to-1, 5-to-1, but that is completely up to you. You can change what your benchmark is there depending on how much you're making. So these are some of the stats that you need to look at in the platform to determine whether you're achieving these objectives or not. One of the main things you need to consider, and I personally think this is the most important, is how much time it takes to run a TikTok account. So it's not just the same as Instagram or Facebook, where you can, I don't know, do like an afternoon of content planning, content creation, scheduling, and then you don't really need to think about it for, I don't know, the rest of the week or the rest of the month. TikToks, you have to be on this all the time. It's not something that you can plan ahead. It's really, really time consuming. So you need somebody who is comfortable in front of the camera, who is an active TikTok user in their day-to-day life and knows what's trending, knows what's popular, knows the do's and don'ts, essentially. You need to have somebody who is good at being creative on the platform, who is also good at editing, being in the shots. This person requires a lot of skills, okay? So it is actually quite important that you have somebody in your business that fulfills all of these things, or that you hire somebody that fulfills all of these things. So one of my clients, they have they sell books essentially, and they started their TikTok account a few years ago, and they have 2 people that are responsible for creating all these TikToks, and they're doing really, really well on TikTok. But that just shows that it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort to maintain and grow your channel. So you want to at least dedicate a couple of days a week to content creation and editing. Also, this person will need to be using the platform to check comments, to look at the trends, and to be immersed in the industry on TikTok. So it is a fully consuming role, essentially. It's not just somebody that can do it as part of their job. If they are doing it as part of their job, they probably won't be doing the best job that they possibly can on this platform. So this, I'm sure a lot of social media marketers know this. It'll be the people that don't really do social day in, day out, that don't realize like the gravity of how much time this takes. One of the other ways that you can look at your ROI is through TikTok Shop. So I personally would say, if you want to generate sales, do it through TikTok Shop or don't do it at all. Some of the case studies that we've seen from our clients, before we were running TikTok Shop, we would drive traffic to the websites. But as we know, TikTok is a really addictive platform, and we weren't seeing that many people click through to their websites or purchasing, because it's really hard to leave the platform once you're in TikTok, especially because the ads within TikTok, like the typical ads, don't do very well. So you want to be creating ads in this native TikTok style and linking stuff to TikTok Shop. So that is the best and the only way that I would recommend selling through TikTok Shop. Some stats here. So 30% of daily TikTok users have used TikTok Shop. 71% of TikTok users have bought something after seeing it in their feed, which is a massive stat, that is. And then we have some breakdowns of how purchases are broken down by the generations. So you've got 49 people who are Gen Z have purchased something from TikTok, 60% of millennials, 23% of Gen X, and 9% of baby boomers. So a lot of people are using and buying on TikTok Shop. It is like a full e-commerce platform, which I think I'll go into next. So it's not just something, again, that you can do on the side. It's comparable to Amazon, I guess. If anybody manages Amazon ads, obviously you've got the inventory there. You've got like all the product management. You have the ads on top. TikTok is very similar in the sense that it is an e-commerce platform. It's not just a marketing tool that drives traffic to, I don't know, your website or Amazon, something like that. You need somebody who, similar to the person who manages like your website inventory, your Amazon inventory, you need to have SEO optimized products. It's a very different role to marketing, I guess, is what I'm saying. And you need the right person to be managing that. It can be integrated with other e-commerce partners that you might be using. So Shopify, Magento, Zendesk, and there's a lot of integrations available to make that a more seamless experience for you, and just to, I guess, tie in with things that you're already doing. And one last thing that I would say is be prepared to scale if this goes well for you. So, for example, P. Louise that we were looking at earlier, her business has gone from her just being a makeup artist to this massive, huge makeup business in 3 or 4 years. So that potential for growth and scale is there, and you need to be prepared if this does happen to you. Because imagine if you, I don't know, something happened overnight and you went viral and you had so many orders. Could you deal with that, or would it just be terrible and everything would fall apart? So this is something that you do need to be mindful of when launching on TikTok Shop or TikTok. Another thing that you need to consider when looking at return of investment is the ad management and budget. You don't have to run ads on this platform at all, but I would recommend you running ads. Obviously, that increases your reach, increases your brand awareness, and it increases sales. If you're planning on selling products on TikTok Shop, I would say you really should be running ads to support that. You'll need to allocate a budget to spend on the platform for these ads. So the minimum that you can spend per day at a campaign level is £50 or £20 per day at an ad group level. So the minimum you can spend is £20 essentially per day. If you were to run at the minimum amount per day, you're looking at about £600 a month on ad spend. And I would recommend running always on. So running remarketing, that's just on constantly. Because if people are watching your videos, if they're engaging with your products, they've been on your website, it's just like another marketing channel that you can communicate to them through. and they purchase on TikTok Shop. So obviously you've got the budget there for your ad spend. Are you going to be running the ads? Are you going to have an agency running the ads, or is it somebody in your team? You need to be mindful of this is another task, if it's you or your team, that needs to be done day to day. And if you don't have the time or the knowledge or the resources to do this in-house, you're obviously going to have to pay an agency. So that's another thing to consider when you're looking at return of investment. So you'll need to think about your ad spend and the agency fee as well. So there is a lot to think about when you're considering, should my business be on TikTok or not? And I'm going to end with this. So only 26% of marketers are using TikTok. And I get why. You lot probably get why after watching this presentation. There's so many things to consider that I guess a lot of people going into this platform think, oh, we can be on TikTok. It's just like all the others. But actually, no, there's so much to consider when launching on this platform. And 26% obviously is a very tiny amount. And when you consider that it's the sixth biggest platform in the world, there's a lot of opportunity there. So if you have the time, the dedication, the resources, and I guess the finances to put into this platform, it could be amazing for you. But you don't want to fall at the first hurdle. So please do consider all of the things that we've spoke about today. And I've just put a little summary at the end. So to summarize everything that we've covered today, is my audience on TikTok? Yes or no? Do I have the staff to, do I or my staff have the time to manage the channel properly? Does my team have the skills to create good content? Do I have budget for content creation or ad spend? And could my business cope with quick growth? If it's yes to all of these, amazing. Go for it. Go for it today. If there's some that you think, like I know my audience is on TikTok, but I need to get the other things right, please do try and get the other things right before you launch on this platform, because it's just going to make your job really hard and be a bit stressful. And it's probably not going to be the most amazing platform launch that you'll ever experience. And if you have a boss that's trying to get you onto TikTok and is saying, we should be on TikTok, everybody's on TikTok, please just show them this presentation and let them have the information to consider whether this is the right thing for their business or not. Because there's a lot of social media marketers who are like, oh yes, I know we should be on TikTok, but I don't have the capacity. And it's really hard to articulate how much time and effort it takes to launch on this platform. Okay, so that was it for my presentation today. There are like other pages in this deck, which is our agency creds. So if anybody does want to have a look at those, please do download the handouts and you'll see lots of information about Annika, our clients, how to work with us, all that other type of stuff in there. But that's it from me today.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for that, Rachel. I really enjoyed that. We had a few people putting in the chat saying that they've put their own content up, but they're stuck in the 200 views jail, and they've had like that one video of like, I think it was a viral video of cleaning up flies or something that like hit 40,000 views. So it's a really interesting one, but thank you for that. I've really enjoyed that.
You're welcome. Has there been any questions in the chat? I had to close it because I kept looking at the chat and I kept getting distracted.
People are saying that it might be a bit time consuming for them, but they could always use it as a researching tool on competitors or different brands, or just to understand where the consumership is going at the minute, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So you could always use it as a consumer role and just seeing what the latest trends are and things like that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I completely get. As a brand, it's really time consuming. And I genuinely don't think people realise how much effort TikTok takes to manage.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think with the content that you are putting out all the time, it can take a big chunk of your time, but once it works, it works. And once you've got that brand advocacy and viewership and all that kind of thing, then it's yours to go for.
Yeah.
The handout should be in the handout section. What I'll do is, if anybody else would like to see the handouts, I can email them to all the attendees as well. So if you haven't received them, they're in the handout section, but I can circulate them as well. But apart from that, I'm going to launch a quick review. So if you did enjoy today and you'd like to leave some feedback, we'd really appreciate it. It goes a really long way. So hopefully that should have popped up there. And that's just for our Google review. But thank you so much for that, Rachel. I really enjoyed that one. I think it was a great topic to cover.
You're welcome. Hopefully it was useful to everybody.
Yeah, definitely. Brilliant. Well, on that note, I've just pinned the handouts to the top of the screen. So hopefully for those that can't see it, should be pinned up now. Apart from that, I think that's everything from my side. Next week we'll be covering Owned and Earned. I've not got a title as of yet, but you'll see the invite on Monday morning. But thank you very much for joining, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.